Age Tech Innovators.
Welcome to Age Tech Innovators, the podcast where we explore how technology is transforming the way we care for our aging population. I'm Monty, your host, and each week we chat with inspiring leaders who are making a real difference in the lives of older adults, sharing innovations and ideas that help support and uplift those who need it most. Join us as we work together to build a brighter, more caring future for everyone. Now, let's dive in. So, I'm honored to be with Lucienne today over in Malta. Lucienne, give me a rundown of who you are and what you do in 60 seconds.
Of course. Hi, Monty. As you said, I'm Lucienne Vassallo from Connected Care Malta. We offer telecare services to the elderly, and not just telecare services, technology services to our elderly. We take care of our senior population, so we offer anything that makes their life easier. So I've been working in this sector for the last 10 years, so I've seen the world changing quite a lot in this sector.
I can imagine. Thank you so much for a quick overview and so great to hear. In terms of your story of entering into the sector, because this sector is so focused on supporting people and caring for people at scale, what was your story in terms of how you came into work in this sector?
Yes, I used to work in a completely different sector, which had nothing to do with the senior people or elderly population. But once I stepped into this sector, my life changed completely. As you know, we offer peace of mind to the community. I mean, through independence, we give the elderly people, we empower them to live a better life. So once you go to work to save people's life, it's not like going to work to sell something. So we go back home with a sense of responsibility that we have changed someone's life. So I think that keeps you coming back every day, no matter the challenges we face.
What was your first experience of, as you say, impacting or saving someone's life when you started working in the sector? Then what was that first feeling of, wow, we're actually making an impact?
Yes, I remember at the very beginning, technology was not like it is today, 10 years ago. So when we started exploring different products and devices, we were a bit skeptical as well if they do work or if they do really change people's lives. But when you start, for example, saving people's lives when someone falls, and instead of staying on the floor for 12 hours at night, in an hour he will be at the hospital. And this would only happen with technology. So when I started seeing these living these experiences every day, then you start realizing how you're impacting people's lives, and I think that's what keeps me coming back.
That sense of responsibility and that sense of impact.
Yes.
Well, it's so nice to hear. What I do see is that once people enter into the care and the telecare space, if they go and work in a normal, very much solely commercial minded business, then they find there's a lack of satisfaction that comes with that. So you've experienced you've seen a lot of change in these last 10 years. How do you think, given the population of vulnerable people or elderly people is going to double by around 2050, what do you think are some of the key opportunities that we have or that you see in this space?
Yes, I think longevity has been a lot of success lately. I think it's a success story. We all want to get old, but it's not enough to get old if you're not healthy and still capable to lead a normal life. So I see that as an opportunity that by 2050 the seniors will double, because there's a lot we can do. I mean, if people are living so much more, there is so much more we need to do. For example, like when we get old, we visit the hospital most of the time more than a 40-year-old. So if that population is doubling by 2050, I think our governments and policymakers need to really work hard how to improve the well-being and the way of life of the elderly. I mean, we invest so much throughout our life to get to the age of 70, 80, 90 in healthy way by eating healthy food, exercising, and everything. That I believe that the government has to do its part for the infrastructure to be in place when the elderly population doubles by the 2050.
So you are in a very unique place because you communicate with the UK quite a lot. I know that we were introduced through someone in the UK. However, you also have the overview of Malta. What do you think the UK and UK listeners could learn from how things are done in Malta?
Okay, so what I believe, Malta is as you know, is a very small island with a population of around 700,000 people. So I believe that puts Malta in a very specific place where one can use Malta as a pilot. So if something works in Malta, I'm sure it will work in the UK, in the Nordics, and everywhere. So what I believe is different, we do different in Malta than the UK, for example, is in the UK you have a lot of schemes, people not necessarily living in their independent homes, but they could be living in care homes, care schemes, whatever you call them. So I think how we do things, it's more one-to-one because our elders still live in their home and in their household. The care is more unique to that person. So we send ambulances every day for people who need an ambulance because the distance is short. Malta is only 21 kilometers by 9 kilometers. So calling an ambulance would reach you within 20, 30 minutes. So I believe that Malta makes a good pilot project for anyone who wants to test something before putting it on the market.
That's really interesting to see how instead of, because you're completely right, in the UK, there's a lot of emphasis on grouped living, big accommodations with 50 elderly people. And you're saying within Malta, this doesn't exist so much, and it's more the care is provided to the individual on an individual basis living at home.
In Malta, we have care homes as well, but it's more like it's completely different than people who are still independently living, who want to live in their community, who lived in it, but they still want to be monitored. So we as Connected Care offer home monitoring to those elderly who are still active in the community without the need of them going to a care home. Basically, in Malta, the people who go into a care home are the ones who are maybe a little bit older, have any health issues or something like that. People who are independent and still go out in their community, they live in their house and we make sure that they have everything to be monitored in case of an emergency.
I think the people listening would find it super interesting to learn more about how Malta, as a Telecare, or the Telecare service in Malta, has changed over the last 10 years and how you think it will continue to change over the next 10 years, given its interesting, unique demographics.
Yes. Of course, as I said before, in Malta, when we started with the Telecare, it was quite some time ago. But if I had to mention my grandmother, she had this big telephone box with a red light on it, which used to flash when she calls for an emergency. While today, we have a Telecare services, which is as small as a button or a keychain. Before, it used to work only at home. Today, we have services where you can monitor people everywhere, even if they are outside of the country. For example, if they're abroad, we still can monitor them they're still connected with our emergency services. Through the GPS location, we can locate the people. So Telecare has improved so much. And also its back office. So from a system which used to work with analog, today we have implemented a digital solution system where we can take the calls from anywhere, not just from the office. So our call center is equipped with a digital call handling system as well, which going forward, it is already in place when we decide to implement AI devices, IoT devices. So we are already prepared to take that on board as well.
Okay, that's really great to hear.
Yeah.
Given the size of Malta and the communal aspect to it, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, imagine if suddenly we fast forwarded time by 60 years, 70 years, and you suddenly woke up and you were elderly. You looked in the mirror and you were 90, and you were looking for technology to support you and keep you independent and keep you reassured. What would you personally like to use on a day-to-day experience?
Yes, okay. One of the challenges I see in the sector today, in our position, that's when we get to have an elderly. So he has a file for his medical records. He has another application for his diabetes, to monitor his diabetes. Then he has another mobile application to monitor his telecares, his falls, etc. So I think there's a lot of data on the same person, but it's scattered on all over the application, mobile application, physical paper files. So if I had to be 40, 50 years ahead, I would have just one application which can show me everything about my medical records, about my vital signs, which will be all incorporated in one thing. Although this is something which already exists, unfortunately, it's either too costly or too complicated to get the government, policymakers, and private companies to cooperate together and put it in one application. So I believe that something needs to be done, not to have a file at the hospital, at another file here when you apply to the telecare services. A lot of scattered papers running everywhere, or a lot of mobile applications.
So everything in one place, a super app and a holistic service, but accessible through one window or one portal.
Yes.
In terms of where we are right now as a sector, there's a lot of change, and as you mentioned, some AI and this consolidation of services, which is heading towards, I agree, this single point of contact for vulnerable people. To get to that point, what do you think some of the challenges are that we need to overcome as a sector?
I mean, what I see today for the elderly living today, if I had to talk about Maltese residents and Maltese elderly, you will find that a lot of, let's say, 70-year-old and over Maltese elderly senior people do not own a 3, 4, 5G smartphone. So that is already a struggle because you cannot implement AI to someone who cannot use the basic smartphone. So that is one of the challenges. If we had to implement it today, I believe that will not be an issue for when we become elderly in 10, 20 years, 20 years in time. Another issue would be that, for example, we have made this huge investment in going digital. But if we have an X amount of clients who already have a telecare service and they already have a device, new devices may be a little bit more costly when compared to what they have. So you would want to get everyone on board to the digital AI but it's not an easy process. You don't wake up tomorrow and say, as from today, we start implementing AI devices to everyone. But I believe that is the only way to go. Although we like it or not, we want it or not, in 2-3 years' time, it's not like in 10 years' time. We all will be there or struggling to be there. So that's my take on it.
I appreciate that. Given there's so much, so in the UK, we have a organization called the TSA, or the Technology Enabled, I can't get this wrong, Technology Enabled Service Association. Thank you. I am a member as well.
Because we are members as well.
My question was, because you're in Malta, is there an association where people brainstorm, or do you communicate and collaborate a lot with Europe and UK?
So we as Connected Care are the only telecare providers in Malta because we run a government contract and we offer the service on behalf of the government. As I told you, logistically, Malta is a very small island. So we always look outside of Malta. So that is Europe, UK, Nordics. We attend first to see what's going on. We do our research to see what we can implement. However, certain things due to our culture are slightly different. Our elderly still love to have that human voice taking their calls, checking on them. So although we have implemented a lot of technology, the human element is as important for us.
I appreciate that. It's nice to be able to have this test bed of innovation that Malta can be, or Malta is, and then going to pick interesting parts and having the control of working with the government for introducing new innovations. You mentioned earlier on in the conversation that one of the biggest advantages, or a big advantage of being in Malta, is the fact that you get to pilot and try new technology. For UK-based or European businesses that are looking to try and do some pilots to understand a proof of concept, what would their steps be to working within Malta?
Yes, they can make contact directly with me because I am the CEO of Connected Care, and we would be very happy to do such pilot projects. From experience, I've learned that these pilot projects help both the person who wants to do the pilot and also us, because we are always learning, implementing, and trying to find the best solutions for our clients.
You also mentioned that in 3 years, that's when you think there'll be a lot of change having occurred, which is maybe more people will use mobile phones, maybe AI will have a much deeper penetration within the people you support. What do you think will happen to those organizations that aren't actively adopting new innovation within this space?
I believe they will fall back, because let me explain this scenario. We from Malta, with our new system, can take calls for companies who are offering our service in the UK.
Wow.
We can take calls for anywhere in Europe. With just a laptop, we can get those clients, customers, elderly people connected to us. So if they do not make the change to digital, then the ones who have made already the change will be a step ahead.
So typically, and this is what I've seen, countries have been quite isolated and have only really competed, companies within a single country have only really competed against other companies within the same country. You're saying that this progression is going to open up both competition, but also the value that can be provided towards people from across the world. So it's no longer the UK, it's now a global stage.
Yes, I mean, from us, just this little island, we can take any calls from anywhere across Europe or the world. We can help people who are living on the other side of the world by taking their calls, calling their family members, calling their emergency services. It doesn't change anything being here in Malta or being in the UK. So it's just a digital telephone line, which we are already connected to, digital platform, which we already have to. We as Maltese people, the generation in Malta speaks Maltese and English. So for us, it's our second language, English, so we don't have that problem. So yes, I think moving to digital is always a plus, and it always benefits those who do it.
That's so interesting. And I would presume that this is made even more possible because of the strong ties you have with the government. So it's not that you're just a organization in Malta, you're a government backed, tied to organization. So then when you are going to other countries, you have a lot of reputation you can lean on.
Yes, but until last year, we were 50% of our contracts were government contracts, but 50% were private contracts. So we had a mix of both. Now, recently, we have taken all the government, the 100%, besides other business that we do, which is not government related. But when it comes to Telecare, we offer, yes, the government service, which basically is for all the elderly in Malta. Something else that I wanted to tell you, that we are also piloting a project in Malta, which we monitor diabetes. So we have patients in Malta, most of them are young children, who have the monitor, which will notify us the diabetes levels, the glucose levels of that person. And through our parameters, we would know if that person needs help. If his glucose is very low, for example, some of them will be they will be asleep. They wouldn't know that their glucose level are very low and they need to take the medicine. So we alert them by calling them through this digital platform that we have, which notifies us of such parameters.
That's amazing. So you're moving outside of age tech to just care tech in general.
Yes.
How's it going?
Very good. Very good. We've been doing it for the past year and we have progressed a lot. So we had very good feedback. It's not the elderly. It's like young children and youth. But it still gives you a lot of satisfaction because at the end of the day, we keep our mission is to offer peace of mind and to keep everyone connected.
There seems to be a trend of typically Telecare as being around elderly people. And now what I'm seeing that Telecare is now across, as you're saying exactly with this pilot you're running, across the whole of society to improve longevity. Feels like a really exciting time because, as you say, the markets are opening up. So it's now possible to support people across the whole of the world. And it's no longer just supporting vulnerable people, it's elderly people, it's supporting all people who need help. It's such a changing landscape. So I'd love to know, for people who are looking into this telecare market, which is now becoming it's a telecare rather than not just elderly care, what encouraging advice would you offer to listeners considering entering into this space?
For the clients, you mean? For the client?
Yeah, great question. Both for people who are building innovation, but also what would you offer to people who are maybe family members or vulnerable people themselves? What would you offer in terms of encouraging advice for them?
Yes, listen, what I say is that we, as people, as human beings, we all want to be monitored. If you see young people, they're all with the smartwatches to monitor their heart rate, their pace, how much they're walking every day. So the concept is already there. We all want to be monitored. We just don't want to admit that maybe we're getting old. So that keeps us a bit away from getting the Telecare service at a younger age, because we're not old yet, we're still young. But I think we all want to be monitored. It's just our frame of mind doesn't allow us to admit that we're getting old. What I would say to everyone, a client, do whatever feel that is helping you in your daily life. For example, if you're a young couple who are most of the time at home alone and you got up on a ladder, there is no guarantee that you cannot fall. Being a 40-year-old, a 60, 70 or 80-year-old, we all need some sort of help. So maybe if it's not the Telecare, it's something else, just go for it. So I think that that at the back of your mind, you know that there's someone who's caring for you. I think that's not questionable. We all agree about that. For the investors, I would say that to have maybe this application that we have all been dreaming of, the people who have been in this sector, which incorporates everything in it. Like, for example, everything, the records, the hospital records, our personal records, everything.
It's a very, very wise pieces of advice for people considering technology and investors. What do you think so there's an increasing number of telecare suppliers and products and people wanting to enter into this market. What would you say to general suppliers or general manufacturers or people looking to innovate? What encouraging words would you give to them?
To keep in mind when producing a new product, to keep it as simple as possible. The price sometimes is we all want to make money, but sometimes the prices are too high for the elderly, for the investors, for the suppliers. So there's a lot of, from the supplier it goes from the manufacturer to the supplier from the supplier to us. So there's quite a journey. So to keep the products reasonable, that would, at a reasonable price, that would benefit all of us.
Amazing. Well, it's been very eye-opening. I think my main takeaways from today's conversation have been the fact that we see Telecare becoming not just being more of a global operation rather than UK businesses supporting UK people and Maltese businesses supporting Maltese people. That's huge. So thank you so much. Have you got anything you'd like to share, anything at all? I really, really appreciate your time today and I found it genuinely very interesting.
No, thank you so much for your time. It was always great following you and what you are doing for the elderly as well and for us. No, I think that although we want to do more to the elderly, sometimes keeping it simple and less is better because the people are already vulnerable. So we need to offer them something which offers them peace of mind, but keeping it as simple as possible.
I appreciate that. There's a nice saying which is things that are complicated in small scale are impossible
in big scale.
In big scale. I paraphrased that badly, but you get the concept. Thank you so much for your time, and it's been a pleasure. I'll chat to you soon. Awesome.
Thanks. Bye.